Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
Lieutenant General Paul Stanton is redefining the concept of teamwork at the Defense Information Systems Agency. The director of DISA says the interdependency of technology systems and the speed of artificial intelligence are driving this change. With more on what DISA's new approach to teamwork is going to look like, Federal News Network's executive editor Jason Miller joins me now. Jason, thanks for being here.
It was a pleasure, Terry.
So when General Stanton talks about teamwork, who's he talking about and what does he want to be different?
Stanton says because of the DoD Information Network, commonly known as the DoDIN, it's a complex infrastructure, right? It includes all these different pieces and parts: transport, host, compute, cloud-based capabilities, public key infrastructure, identity control and access management solutions, cybersecurity at large. It's not just what he calls a one-person game. So DoD, DISA, its vendors, they are critical to DoDIN's success. And Stanton, who spoke earlier last week at the FCA TechNet Cyber Conference, says when DoD considers the speed, the scope, the scale of current and future operations, that idea of teamwork becomes so much more important.
How do we work better with each other? How do we directly communicate within the bounds of a left and right limit to meet the requirements of the changing operating environment? Where are there dependencies? Upon which other systems is your solution dependent? From where do you derive your data? To whom are you offering data? From where are you getting your configuration? Answer all of the questions. Develop an understanding of the dependencies. Know your role. Know where your system fits. And then work as a team to drive towards synergistic effects.
Terry, there's a lot of questions he's posing for both DISA and its vendors, and they really need to answer them as part of this approach. And that's why he says it's a different type of teamwork. In fact, Stanton says all of his priorities, readiness, campaigning, continuous modernization, lethality, are all helping drive this culture change of what teamwork really does mean.
If you are part of the DOIN, if you are contracted in support of DISA or DCDC, you're on the team. And you must be trained and ready. And you must understand how your individual responsibilities fit into the collective. That's what we mean when we reference readiness. Readiness helps us drive mission effectiveness. Brilliant at the basics, yes. Operationally relevant and effective is a must. It also helps us drive accountability. The days of letting your certificate expire and breaking the DOIN are over. Period. If you make a configuration change on the firewall and you put an any rule in and you cause a flood of traffic, not good enough. The stakes are too high. We cannot take down our operating environment when we're in full-scale combat operations. Can't do it. But I can't drive accountability until I have established readiness, until I know that you're trained and ready, you understand your individual tasks. Once I've done that, we're good at it, we're operationally effective, and if we break it, there's accountability. There's a method to the madness.
Stanton says the team must drive toward the same outcomes versus just delivering a capability without understanding that bigger picture.
So Jason, how would that be different from how teamwork is defined at DISA today?
Today, Stanton says teamwork is very transactional. It's almost one way, DISA to industry.
We write contracts, we develop task orders, we ask you to do something, you do it. If something breaks, we call you and ask you to fix it. Or you detect it, you fix it, and you call us. Pretty much how it works. Not good enough. It's not good enough to meet the speed, scope, and scale challenges of today and into the future.
He points to the combatant commands. DISA works very closely with 11 combatant commands, and he says basically we're just not as effective as we could be or should be. You know, in those 11 different combatant commands, there's 11 different implementations or instantiations of a solution. Stan says that doesn't work well in a global fight. A vendor can make a change, add an innovation to their product, And the vendor and DISA, they have to understand how that affects that software, the system. But there's also what he says, second and third order effects of that system, and that all connects to each other. And today they don't understand what a lot of those second and third order effects are, and they have to understand it. And that's why this idea of teamwork is changing.
Sounds to me like the practices they have in place are pretty well ingrained, though. So how does General Stanton expect to change the culture of both DISA and the industry?
There's probably a lot of eye rolls, a lot of sighs at FCA TechNet Cyber when he said this. I mean, Terry, listen, you and I have been around long enough. Teamwork. We gotta be better partners, right? That's a platitude that we hear time and again. It's a tired talk track. And in fact, I asked General Stanton that same question during a meeting with reporters after his speech. And he says, listen, it all really does come back to this readiness priority.
Establishing and holding accountability has a dependency on preparation, training, and development. I have to make it clear what my expectations are. I have to provide an environment that supports training and validation and qualification before I can hold you accountable. Well, let's be clear. Once the standard is now established, the training environment is rapidly in development. Qualification is part of the readiness and the training. If you then make the mistake, absolute repercussions. And those repercussions will be based on a individual industry relationship.
He says DISA will have to add clauses to contracts to help further drive home these changes. And again, this culture change, Terry, as we know, will not happen overnight. It's going to require, as he says, relationships, team building, development, again, new contract language. But he also says without this shift, DISA and DoD are not going to be able to operate at the speed, scope, and scale that's necessary these days. So, of course, this has to bleed down into the DISA workforce, and that means the culture change also means changing that workforce.
We have a leader development program that we're instituting within both DISA and DCDC. If I could strike the term supervisor from the vernacular, I would. I don't want a supervisor. I need leaders. But I can't expect just because you have been a member of the agency for a number of years and have demonstrated your competency and gotten a promotion into a position that now has, put in air quotes, a supervisory responsibility, that we have developed you as a leader. We have to do the leader development. Once we've done the leader development, now my team that I am leading is contractors, it's civilians, it's military service members.
This culture shift will take time. Most folks will not see a difference for months, probably. But Stanton says, given how AI is changing the way DoD fights, it's going to require DISA to think a bit differently, to interoperate a bit differently, and for the military and really to talk about doctrine, organizational training differently.
Jason, one of the challenges that key leaders like General Stanton face is they don't have a long runway. You know, organizational change takes time, and we change leaders out pretty quickly. Did he talk about how long he thinks it's going to take?
He didn't, but what I did, that I had that same thought. I was like, well, how long has he been in that role? Because usually DISA leaders, they have a shelf life, for lack of a better word. A lot of leaders in the military stay in a position for so many months or so many years and then move on. So he joined, I think he became director of DISA back in 2024. So he's entering his second year. He's in the middle of his second year. So there is a short amount of time. And I think that's why the message he is sending to industry to say, hey, change is coming, and we want you to be prepared for this change and start acting like that change is here. To your point, Terry, this is not something he's going to flip a switch and make it happen. But I think by messaging certain ways to industry, especially at a conference like FCA TechNet Cyber, it's really driving this message that he wants this to happen faster and better.
That's Federal News Network's executive editor, Jason Miller. Jason, thanks for this story.
Always a pleasure, Terry.
You can find all the details at federalnewsnetwork.com.